Our next question for Jesus comes from a very different source, but it is somebody genuinely wanting to know the answer. This time it's not a theological question, it's a practical one. It says that someone in the crowd, this is Luke chapter 12, said to Jesus, "Teacher," so he's recognizing Jesus' authority but doesn't necessarily understand who Jesus is, "tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me." So I'm making the assumption that in Jesus' day, this is a younger brother, where the inheritance from the father has been given to the oldest son, and somebody else feels that they've been shortchanged. So how can Jesus respond to this? Well, he doesn't address the situation with the two brothers. Instead, he addresses who is to make such a decision. He said, "Man, who appointed me a judge or an arbiter between you?" Jesus is being put in that position that most of us have found ourselves in at some point, where two people feel passionately about something. They both think that they're in the right, and they're expecting you to make the decision, and you're sitting there thinking, I don't want to get in the middle of this, I don't want to fall out with either of you, but both of you are pressurizing me to say who is right and who is wrong, when maybe there is no good answer that I can give. But Jesus goes further than that and speaks into the heart. He says, "Watch out, be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions." Remember back to turn those stones into bread in the wilderness, where Jesus gives a spiritually focused answer to a physical question. And sometimes that is the best way to get to the heart of the matter. The chances are that the man's father hasn't left him completely without inheritance, and the chances are that his brother is being helpful in some ways. It says basically, have you got enough? If the starting point of the question had been, "I'm starving and my brother has everything, tell him to give me some food," I think Jesus would have given a very different answer. But where is the focus? If your focus is on an injustice in your eyes about stuff that you want that somebody else has, when you have enough, then that's just a distraction and something that will draw you away from the things of God. And then Jesus tells a very famous parable about a rich person who has an abundance of harvest, and he thinks to himself, "What shall I do with all this food that I've harvested?" I can think of some very obvious answers about what he might like to do with it, but his answer is, "I need bigger barns." So he tears down the old barns and he builds bigger ones, and then he stores all the surplus grain that he's not got time to eat. And then he thinks, "I've got plenty of grain for many years, I'll take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry." And then God says to him, "You fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself? This is how it will be with whoever stores up things for themselves, but is not rich towards God," Jesus says to the man who wants him to intervene in a family dispute. Set your eyes on the right things. Be grateful for what you have. See that it comes from God and count it so that you can thank God for it. But if we have enough to live and enough to give, then why would we enter into disputes with people who we think have more and should share it? Let's be generous in the way that the rich fool wasn't, and not spend all of our times trying to protect and store things which we don't need that could bless others.